Okay, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Keith Thompson. I'm the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs in the College of Engineering. Today, Dr. Marlena Lester, who is the College of Engineering's Director of Advising, and myself are going to talk to you about joining Virginia Tech and the College of Engineering specifically. Marlena and I are part of a larger office, the College of Engineering Academic Affairs Office. And what we do is we handle a lot of the undergraduate issues within the College of Engineering. We're part of a broad system of student support that also includes the departmental advisors that are here to help support you through your time at Virginia Tech. Marlena and I both want to thank you for choosing Virginia Tech for your college experience. Today's orientation is going to contain a lot of information that you need to know about joining Virginia Tech and being successful in college, particularly in engineering programs. Don't worry if it doesn't all sink in today. This advice is going to be reiterated several times, and you'll have opportunities to ask questions of academic advisors as you are orienting and onboarding into the College of Engineering. Let's move on to the next slide. So these next few slides are just going to talk about Virginia Tech and the College of Engineering here and what you should expect. One of the first things I want to recognize is that Virginia Tech is an educator of high-quality engineering students. We are ranked number 16 in the U.S. News and World Ranking reports, and we usually are there each year somewhere in that 10 to 20 range. What that's going to mean is there are going to be high expectations of performance for you, but it's also going to offer you a lot of opportunities to participate in engineering competition teams, to perform undergraduate research, or to interact with a lot of other students of similar capability and passion as yourself. We don't admit you if we don't think you have the potential to be a successful student here. That doesn't mean that you're not going to face various struggles adjusting to life in the College of Engineering at Virginia Tech. That's all really common, but that struggle is a good opportunity for you to learn and mature. Let's move on to the next slide. The other thing is the Virginia Tech College of Engineering is really big. We are the largest college at Virginia Tech, and in fall 2023, we're going to have about 10,000 undergraduate students in the college, freshman to senior. That size is what allows us to offer a lot of different degrees and majors and specialization tracks within those majors. It's going to give you a lot of opportunities to choose what you want your education to look like as you move towards getting a degree and preparing for a professional career. The other thing about that size, though, is it's very easy to feel lost with that many students. So as you are adjusting to life at Virginia Tech, it's going to be really important that you understand how to identify sources of help as you are moving through the program so that you know who you can reach out to when you are having problems. Otherwise, you might feel like you're just lost in the crowd. Let's move on to the next slide. So let's talk about expectations in moving into college. As many of you will be moving from high school into college. I'm sure you've heard it's going to be different in a lot of ways. To start with, your life management is going to be very different. No one is going to be there to directly monitor you. You're going to have a lot more autonomy to make your own choices. And you're going to need to master things like time management, study routine, and juggling of a lot of different academic responsibilities. But you're also going to need to balance that with solving a lot of day-to-day life tasks, such as getting your laundry done, keeping your space in order, eating properly, managing money, and so forth. I'm sure that there are probably a lot of you that are already used to this, but there'll be many of you who are just doing these things for the very first time. And it's a good thing for you to adapt to these types of tasks. You're going to come out of college much more ready to live on your own and juggle the routines of just managing your life as you're starting your career. That's going to give you, you're going to have a lot more freedom in doing all these things, but it's also going to mean the freedom to make mistakes, and hopefully you're going to learn from a lot of that. In addition to navigating life, students also need to learn how to navigate the university. And by this, I mean all of the numerous rules, requirements, and deadlines that are common for every university, and especially for large universities. Virginia Tech has rules about academic standards, rules for academic integrity, rules about degree requirements, timelines for adding and dropping classes, for changing your major and other critical matters. And we don't grant a lot of exceptions to these rules. To manage all this, we have a large bureaucracy of many different offices and specialized personnel across the campus. And that can become very confusing when you're trying to figure out how to get something done. However, each of you is going to have an academic advisor, and that academic advisor is going to be typically the best person to ask first whenever you have questions. That academic advisor may not know the answers to those questions, but they can help you, point you in the right direction to find out who to speak to or where to look for some answers. We also try to be very intentional about communicating information to you in a timely manner. You're going to need to be very conscious about deadlines that are communicated to you, and make sure that you're planning around those deadlines so that you're giving yourself plenty of leeway in order to accomplish what you need to do by that deadline. Most deadlines you're going to encounter are going to be strictly enforced, and whether that's a due date for an assignment, a deadline to apply for some opportunity like a scholarship, or a deadline to take action on a university process such as adding or dropping classes. You're also going to need to spend a lot of time figuring all of this stuff out. And it's best if you become your own advocate in working with faculty and other personnel across the university. You may not be very comfortable talking to a professor or some administrator, but you may find yourself in some situation like that. And what I'd like to say is that most of the faculty and administrators I know are thoughtful, understanding people, and they will try to help you, but there will be limits on how much they can bend policy. Typically, they're not allowed to do that for different reasons. But they can offer advice and sometimes point out an option you may not have thought of when you're speaking with them. Let's move on to the next slide. I cannot stress enough how important it is that you check and read your emails. Your vt.edu email is going to be the official contact method between the university and you. Make sure that you're checking it several times a week. During the academic year, personnel from the Academic Affairs Office are going to be sending you numerous messages regarding upcoming deadlines and other requirements that you need to be aware of. Please keep an eye out for those messages and make sure you at least scan them to figure out whether they apply to your situation or not. Don't let those emails get assigned to your junk folder or your spam folder. Up until recently, we've been using the email associated with your application for admission, whether that was a Gmail account, a Hotmail account, or something else. You should have already received instructions on how to set up your vt.edu email by now. If you haven't already done this, please make that the first thing you do after this orientation. With all this said, you should not expect immediate responses when you send someone an email, or expect to be able to meet with someone if you just drop by their office without an appointment. Typically, appointments with advisors are made through Navigate, and that's the campus's software that manages all of our advising operations. All of the advisors have a lot of other students and other work tasks that they're responsible for, and it's not unusual for them to have their day fully booked up weeks in advance. So timeliness in asking questions is going to be very important. The need for urgency is often not necessary if you're proactively reading the communications that come to you and paying attention to the deadlines that are in them. Let's move on to the next slide. I want to talk a little bit about classes. Instruction at Virginia Tech may feel very different from the instruction that you've been exposed to in high school or maybe at a community college. There's going to be a lot more emphasis on comprehension of foundational theory rather than memorization of formulas or facts and figures. You're going to need to know how to apply your understanding of something to new situations that don't look like problems that you may have seen on the homework. The material may be presented in a less structured manner. There's also going to be a higher expectation for you to absorb the material with less direction from the instructor, particularly reading outside of class. You're going to need to be more of an independent learner. And if you're like I was when I first went off to college, I didn't know anything about studying. I had never really needed to know how to do that well in high school. So in addition to learning the material you need for your classes, you're also going to have to spend some time, likely going to have to spend some time learning how to study in ways that work for you. You're going to need to pay close attention to the expectations that instructors state in their syllabi or in assignment directions. And please, please, please start all of your assignments as soon as they're posted. Like I've said before, many instructors can be very rigid on due dates, and they don't accept late work. And they may expect the work to fit very specific formatting standards, or they may not give partial credit for incomplete work. So don't wait until the day before due date to begin looking at an assignment. Sometimes you can have that assignment completely done, and all you need to do is submit it to some electronic system, and then you hit a bug in that system, and you need to spend time figuring that out. So you need to leave time for all of those sorts of contingencies. You're also going to want to set aside time each day to review material from your courses, even if you don't have something that's due later in that week. A typical rule of thumb is 2 to 3 hours outside of class for every hour that you spend in class. So if you think about a typical 15 credit course load, you're going to be spending another 30 to 45 hours outside of class just studying additional material, doing homework assignments, doing projects, meeting with group team members, things like that. And so that can add up to 45 to 60 hours of work a week, and that's more than a full-time job. And that's not going to include any of the time you need to manage your life or devote to valuable co-curricular activities that you might want to invest some time in. Let's go to the next slide. I want to include a special warning here about Chegg and ChatGPT and other types of resources like that. Virginia Tech has an honor code, and they take academic misconduct very seriously at this university. A sanction for academic misconduct can include an F star grade. So what that is, it's an F that shows up on your transcript for the grade of an entire class, and it has a little asterisk notation that comes after it that indicates that that F was placed because of academic misconduct. That's a very common sanction at this university, actually. Multiple offenses can result in suspension or even expulsion from the university. So it's really important that you pay attention to the rules of conduct that are expected for completing assignments or exams in your classes. Because of how many cases I've seen related to Chegg specifically, I want to warn you away from that website in particular. And please don't underestimate how much your instructors or the GTAs for a course will spot things like copying or plagiarism. They're very good at it, actually. Let's move on to the next slide. So with all of these different messages, I won't be surprised if maybe you're feeling a little overwhelmed. That's normal and it's perfectly fine. College can be a very up and down experience until you get used to it. In your first year, you may encounter some homesickness, loneliness, uncertainty, feelings of insecurity, anxiety, or depression. You may have been a top student in high school and find that you're closer to average at Virginia Tech. You might just plain feel lost in your classes. It's okay to go through all of this. Looking back at my own college experience, the one lesson that I wish I had learned is how to ask for help early. Whether that was academic help or help figuring out how to manage expectations or just counseling when I was having rough spots in my life. I did not use the resources that were available enough when I was an undergraduate student. Even though I've done fine later on, I could have done better had I been less stubborn about getting advice or looking into campus resources. It's normal and it's okay to experience any number of problems when you first go off to college. And you can recover from a certain amount of bad grades in your first year. But that becomes harder if you don't talk to others when you need help and start to take actions right away when something needs to be corrected. The important part is to define realistic expectations for yourself and your abilities and to focus on just making forward progress. And we're going to try to help you do that. So let's move on to the next slide. The university and the college have numerous opportunities for support. A couple of resources I want to point out today are we have a counselor from Cook Counseling Center who's embedded within the College of Engineering. She works exclusively with engineering students and focuses on issues that are more prevalent in the engineering experience. The university also maintains a student success center that provides tutoring support services among other types of academic support. Some departments, such as computer science, which is the largest undergraduate program in the College of Engineering, have their own tutoring services space, and that's located in Torgerson Hall. We have a group called SWAT, that stands for Software Assistance Triage. They're also located in Torgerson Hall. That office is there to help with any types of computer or software needs that might come up during the year. So if you have a computer that dies on you in a given week when you're trying to get a project done, you can go to SWAT to try to get help with it. They might even be able to give you a loaner laptop if necessary to get you through the week. If you run into any type of life emergency, the Dean of Students Office is a good resource to touch base with. If nothing else, they will try to help direct you to specialized resources on campus to help that might help for your particular situation. I also want to mention the college's Center for the Enhancement of Engineering Diversity, that's CEED or SEED. Among their various services, they have a peer mentoring program. And what that does is it pairs freshman students with upper level students as mentors. They also manage the Living Learning Communities Galileo and Hypatia. SEED's currently located in the Gilbert Street building, but you can find them online pretty easily if you just do a Google search for VT SEED. If you've had any disability accommodations in high school, if you had an IEP plan or anything like that, I strongly encourage you to contact the Services for Students with Disabilities office at Virginia Tech. Get yourself registered with them and make use of accommodations. I've seen a lot of students that try to forego the use of accommodations in college with very mixed results. Accommodations are handled in a discrete fashion, and they're designed to provide a fair learning situation for students that are authorized to have them. There is no stigma associated with using accommodations at Virginia Tech. We maintain a list of different resources on our website. You can see the link on this slide. That's going to wrap up my part of this orientation. I want to reemphasize that you're now a Hokie. You're part of the Virginia Tech community. We've accepted you at Virginia Tech because we believe you're qualified to be here and we have confidence in you. So I want to thank you for your time. I'm now going to pass this over to Dr. Lester. She's the college's director of advising. She's going to go over a lot of other important information.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson, and welcome everyone. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the engineering orientation experience and just make sure we're all on the same page about the onboarding to the College of Engineering. So as you can see here on the slide, our engineering orientation experience is referenced as the virtual academic advising and course registration process. And as part of that, we offer this college overview session. We have offered some Q&A or question and answer sessions throughout the summer. And we also have your academic advising, which is one-on-one for all of our programs, and course registration. So in the summer, you would have had access as a student, and also families have access to this as well on our website, on the orientation website, access to something called the Engineering Orientation Checklist. The Engineering Orientation Checklist contains lots of details in a step-by-step comprehensive way for you to kind of start that onboarding to the College of Engineering. And so that was referenced out in May. You would have received your initial email from me on May 8th that welcomed you to the college and also provided you with some information about the college welcome for orientation. On June 5th, you would have received some information directly from an advisor in the program that you are wanting to, that you're admitted into. And that information is also referenced out on our orientation website as a sample copy if you don't have copies of that in your inbox right now. Orientation registration for classes. There are two options that are going on right now. You have the opportunity to attend mandatory virtual one-on-one academic advising for your majors. The dates do vary by major. It can be done before registering for your classes or after registering for your classes. And speaking of class registration, that is open from June 12th all the way up until August 25th is the last day to add classes for the fall semester. So you can utilize this again prior to meeting with your advisor to register for your classes or after. And then we have this session, like I mentioned before, and the optional Q&A sessions. The Q&A sessions that we hosted this summer is the computer requirement, something on peer mentoring, Hokie Shops, which is our bookstore, career support, and study abroad. So if you missed those sessions live, there are recordings on our orientation website. Lots of students in the past have always referenced the computer requirement recording afterwards because it has a lot of great details about the specific specifications of the computer that you need for engineering. The peer mentoring is a great opportunity if you are If you are participating in Hypatia Galileo as a first-time in college student, peer mentoring will be part of your living learning community. But if you're not and you want to get involved with other students and have a mentoring experience, peer mentoring is available to you. Hokie Shops is our Virginia Tech bookstore system. So you can purchase your computers, your books and stuff through them, or you can purchase them wherever you like. We just hosted a session that talked in detail about that process here at Virginia Tech. We also hosted the session on career support, specifically focused around co-ops, internships, and other employment opportunities and how to get prepared for those career fairs and such. And then last week, we hosted the session on study abroad, and we highlighted specifically the Rising Sophomore Abroad program, which is housed within the Department of Engineering Education here in the College of Engineering. So if you missed those, like I said, you can see the recordings on our website. Those are all linked out, and you can watch those at any time. Additionally, on our orientation website, you have information about resources to support you. That checklist that I mentioned earlier is listed out there. Additionally, there are information about the ALEX placement assessment. You also have the computer requirements linked out so you can see that comprehensive spec sheet that you need for that. There's also details about how to self-evaluate your transfer credit. There's information out there as well for your AP duplicate drop. So if you're expecting AP credit or already have AP credit for a class, then you would not be permitted to self-enroll in a class you have credit for through AP. And we do a duplicate drop process here in the College of Engineering and the university. And that's for any course that you have AP credit for. Our recommendation for AP is always to accept your credit and move on to the next level. And so that process is in place there. We received as a university the largest AP download around July 5th. So if you did take AP classes at any point in your career, then you definitely want to make sure that you have College Board send those scores to Virginia Tech. Otherwise, they should already be processed and on your Virginia Tech official records. And we'll talk about where you can locate that in a few moments. If you are wondering what requirements that you have to have in order to complete your degree here at Virginia Tech, there is information on our website called the check sheets. You can only find the check sheets for the College of Engineering right now for the entering class of 2023, which is all of you hopefully on this Zoom webinar. You will be able to see the undergrad catalog details for 2023 for the check sheet requirements. Those check sheets lay out all the classes that you need, your entire program here in the College of Engineering. There's details about course registration, and on that course registration, we also give you some cautionary tidbits about our major restriction policies that we have here in the university, but also specifically in the College of Engineering. So for example, if you're trying to register for a particular class and it does not let you because it says it's major restricted, you have to check to see what that major restriction status is. It might be that it's available only to chemistry majors at this time, and you have to choose a different section of that class. Or it may be that that course, if it's a specific engineering course, like for example, a higher level mechanical class, you would have to be in mechanical engineering before you're permitted to take that. And so that website does provide you instructions on how you can see if you are receiving those errors and what that means. Additionally, there's information about the change of major process that's specifically important for those of you who are here today admitted as a first-time in college student in general engineering, and you're looking to change your major from general engineering into one of our restricted majors or even non-restricted majors in the College of Engineering. And so that outlines that process for you. Additionally, we have the resources and support information that Dr. Thompson mentioned linked out, so you can reference all of those pages that he was talking through today, and some frequently asked questions. In addition to our orientation website, we also have a Canvas site for all incoming students. If you're admitted as a transfer student, you have your own College of Engineering transfer Canvas site. If you're admitted as a general engineering student, you have a site that's housed within our Department of Engineering Education. And if you're admitted as a building construction first-time in college student or a transfer student, you have a Canvas site for all those details for your programs. And it outlines all of these resources and links into a little bit more detail for you as a support mechanism. I also want to talk to you a little bit about your transcripts and score reports. So you do want to make sure that you are sending all your official high school and college transcripts to Virginia Tech. And in order to do that, you will send those to the Office of Undergrad Admissions at Virginia Tech, and it gives you the mailing address there. We also accept those transcripts through electronic parchment, and so that's another mechanism for sending those. Sorry. You also want to make sure that you send all years of your official score reports, so AP, IB, CLEP, any of those things, to the University Registrar's Office as well. The reason that we are asking everyone to make sure you send your official high school, college, and university transcripts, even if you're transfer students, is to ensure that you have all the requirements in order to be able to, of course, sustain your admission status to the university, but also sometimes transfer students specifically need to send their high school transcript to fulfill the foreign language requirement for your intended major, which is a graduation requirement. But it's kind of nice just to send everything now while you're sending your other transcripts and so forth, so you can make sure that those are in the Virginia Tech system and you don't have to worry about it a few years from now. In order to check to see if your official transcripts and score reports are officially here, you can check on HokeySpa. And you can check on HokeySpa specifically for transcripts from other universities. And you can also check on HokeySpa for AP, IB, and those dual enrollment credits. You are not allowed, or we don't have the system in place to check to see if we've received your high school transcript on this HokeySpa screen, but you can check that through your applicant portal for when you apply to Virginia Tech. You as a student are responsible for keeping and being familiar with your own academic records. It is critical that you go back and reference your transcript screen on HokeySpa to make sure that everything is showing up correctly. If you go into HokeySpa grades menu, transfer and other additional credit, you will be able to see the details of how your transcripts were evaluated for dual enrollment, transfer credits, and AP and IB and so forth. If there is any kind of notations on your HokeySpa transcript screen that says send syllabus to credits@vt.edu, you want to send your syllabus to that email address so that we get additional information to make an informed evaluation of your credit. Otherwise, your credit will stand as listed on the screen. So make sure you are following up with those details. Our office, the College of Engineering Academic Affairs office, has been emailing students to remind them that that credit notation is there. We've been running reports with collaboration with our registrar's office and sending emails to students to remind them to do this. So definitely want to make sure that you note that if you are bringing in credits primarily from schools that might be a little bit further away from the Virginia Blacksburg area that we've not seen in several years, that may have that credits@vt.edu notation that needs to be evaluated. Earlier, I mentioned the ways in which several population of students are admitted to Virginia Tech with that Canvas site explanation. And so we do admit students in the College of Engineering as a general engineering student, as a first-time in college student. Those students would have to meet certain admissions criteria or change of major criteria in order to change into one of our 14 restricted degree programs. And those restricted degree programs are listed there. We do admit external transfer students directly into those restricted degree programs. And so restricted programs require certain additional requirements. So in our college, it's certain course requirements, GPA hours, and hour requirements at Virginia Tech in order to transition from general engineering into one of those majors. If you were admitted here as a building instruction student, you could be a first-time in college student, or you could be a transfer student. Building instruction is our non-restricted degree program. So what that means is there's no additional admissions requirements to be admitted into that program. You're already in that program and you have that. So that's the structure of our majors here. At the university in general, I always like to say that there's two types of majors. There are restricted programs and non-restricted programs. And non-restricted programs just mean you can change your major essentially at any time after your first semester of enrollment, whereas restricted programs require that you have additional requirements in order to be admitted into those majors. And that's going to include like everything here in the College of Engineering, College of Business, most majors, and also the College of Architecture, and a few other majors outside of that. With your engineering degree requirements, I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the orientation website, there's a link to the check sheets. That check sheet is going to give you a great way for you to see how all your requirements kind of fit together in a puzzle. And with your requirements, there are really 4 essential areas of the degree or components of the degree. The first is something called the Pathways to General Education. That's going to be about 50 credits of your requirements here at the university, or about 36% of your degree requirements. You have your major requirements, which is going to be about 45% of your requirements. Your technical electives, which usually you get to choose specific courses from a predetermined list that's outlined on the check sheet, and that's about 17% of your courses. And then your free electives. Some majors require free electives and some do not. So that does range between 0 and 6, depending on your program. The credit ranges for our College of Engineering majors is between 123 credits and 132. So when we talk about credit hours and how long it's going to take you to complete your degree, then we're going to recommend that you take 15 to 17 credit hours every single semester in order to graduate in 8 semesters or 4 years. And for transfer students, we're typically shooting for no more than 3 years to complete your degree. So that 15 to 17 credit recommendation is based upon those notions that you will finish your degree in that time frame. The check sheet is a great way for you to kind of see a list of all the courses you take and when it is recommended that you take those courses. It also outlines all the specific requirements, including any graduation policies that are on the check sheet. Additional information about foreign language is going to be listed there as well. We also have notations about what term a class is taught. So if you'll see a notation that says F and it's only got an F, that means that class is fall only. S means spring, S1 is summer 1, S2 is summer 2, and then we have sometimes classes offered in the winter, but very rarely. And so you will, all of you who are new to Virginia Tech this summer or starting in fall, you will follow the degree requirements for the undergrad catalog of 2023-2024. And at the moment, the only place you can find those degree requirements is on our Canvas site, which links out to our engineering website, which has also linked off of our orientation resources page. The registrar's office is working very hard to get all of those check sheet requirements up on their website before the start of the fall semester. But right now we have documents on our website for those requirements. Dr. Thompson mentioned that your academic advisor is really your great first point of contact for anything. If you're unsure who to ask, they're a great person to kind of go to in order to ask those questions. But you might be wondering who your advisor is. All new students in the College of Engineering have been assigned an actual person as their advisor, and you can find out who that person is on Hokie SPA. If you go into Hokie SPA and view your general student information, it will list that individual's name. You will also be able to find out who your advisor is on Navigate. There are lots of things to discuss with your advisor, but specifically focusing around academic progress, grades, course registration, campus involvement, academic and career goals, or any other things that you want to bring forward in the conversation. And during orientation, your advisor or an advisor in your program would have reached out to you asking for you to make an appointment through Navigate for that first initial one-on-one appointment. In the academic year, so in the fall semester and moving forward, you will just log into Navigate and be able to see your advisor's availability and make an appointment with your advisor. Full-time status is something that we often want to really highlight in the orientation process, just so you're fully aware that you need to have 12 credit hours to be a full-time student. Full-time status is required for students who live on campus, receive financial aid, are NCAA athletes, or international students here in the United States on a visa. So that's bare minimum in order to be considered a full-time student. The recommendation for the College of Engineering, like I mentioned previous when we talked about the elements of the degree, is 15 to 17 credit hours every semester. This is just necessary in order to complete your degree requirements within that 4 years, keeping in mind that our credit ranges vary based on the program that you want to pursue. That's unlike some other programs outside the College of Engineering where 120 is standard. Our programs are 123 to 132, 133, depending on the major. For students who are participating in the Corps of Cadets or ROTC programs, you might typically have 17 to 19 credit hours each fall and spring semester, depending on your plan of study and your degree requirements. 19 credit hours is the maximum of credits for new students to take in a given semester. Now, these are just typical kind of recommendations. You would want to work with your advisor specifically on your situation, but there's also additional things that you need to think about on the number of credit hours you need to take each semester. Course registration is open, so all students have the ability to register for classes independently and on Hokie SPA. You can go into Hokie SPA in our course registration and schedule menu, and there's a link called Add Drop. There's tools for you to be able to use to do registration. The first is called Hokie Scheduler, and there are video and PDF copies of tutorials on our orientation website on how to utilize the registration system. There's also another system that is called Registration Add and Drop and Schedule. That system is probably preferred more for a lot of students who already have classes on your schedule. It's a great way for you to go in and see things a little bit clearer because you're not building your schedule from scratch. But either tool works for you to be able to register for your classes. There's again a reminder here about your major and course restrictions, and that some courses are major restricted, meaning that only students officially enrolled within that major or set of majors can enroll. You can utilize another tool called the timetable classes. This is my personal favorite to be able to see what classes are available. You'd be able to see the term, if that particular class fulfills a Pathways to General Education requirement. You can see the course subject, the course number, and also something called the course request number, which is the number assigned to each course to give you the specific date, time, instructor, and details. You can also see the course modality, and in the search results, you can select the CRN, which is on the far left side, to view course prerequisites, co-requisites, and any major restrictions. So you can register for classes now all the way up until August 25th. You definitely want to make sure that you are completing the prepare for registration items before you start that registration process. Those are simple things that you will get prompted to do within the Hokie SPA system, where you have to update your emergency contact information, acknowledge a few other things within that platform. Once you finalize your class schedule, you will want to view your official final schedule on the Hokie SPA Classic Student Schedule screen. So when you log into Hokie SPA, you click Classic Student Schedule, and it will be laid out in this format, where it has the CRN on the left, the course prefix and number, the modality of the class, the title, grade options, your credit hours, the time, date, instructor, and also your exam time. Within this system, you'll also see the days of the week. So we have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which is, of course, MWF. And then we have Tuesday, Thursday. T is for Tuesday, R is for Thursday. So that gives you that notation there as well. Each day of the week is represented by one letter. So that's why R equals Thursday. And then we also have the exam schedule. So each course has its own exam schedule, which is different than your final class time for your semester. So the reason I'm pointing this out today is if you're trying to make arrangements to do something after the semester is over, you want to make sure that you are consulting the exam schedule and you don't make travel arrangements until after your final exam. You also want to consult the syllabus within that first week of classes from your professor to make sure that's also in alignment with what you see here on Hokie SPA. So definitely don't make travel arrangements until you know your final exam schedule. There are a few upcoming academic dates and deadlines. Of course, the first one being that fall semester begins on August 21st. The last day to add any new courses for the fall semester is August 25th. And the last day to drop any courses for the fall semester is going to be October 3rd. There is a complete list of dates for the academic year on the registrar's website. We have this linked out on the engineering orientation checklist as something you should bookmark. Me personally, I have this bookmarked every academic year. That's my go-to thing, and also put these dates and details on my own personal calendar. So I encourage you to do the same. If you are interested in learning more about our social media platforms or engaging with us as a university and a college, we do have lots of platforms on our social media website. I've listed a few here on the screen for you: the Virginia Tech College of Engineering Facebook page, that we have an Instagram page, a LinkedIn page, and also Twitter. You can also utilize our Engineering Opportunities Facebook page, which is a great way for you to see internships, co-ops, or other opportunities that are posted there. There is a link here on the page that also outlines other social media specifically for our departments. So if you are, for example, going to want to pursue computer science as a major, you can follow the computer science social media by going to that link and locating all of those details. So you want to make sure you're utilizing the official social media platforms. I have a few final reminders for you. The first, of course, is to finalize your class schedule with 15 to 17 credit hours. You definitely, if you've not already looked over the orientation website, I encourage you to go back and reference that. And also, if you missed out on some of those Q&A sessions, but you really are interested in studying abroad, or you are interested in learning more about career support here, definitely take a look at those recordings on our orientation website. Students, I need you to make sure that you have your calendars marked already. This was outlined on the engineering orientation checklist for our college session, which will be August 16th, 17th, or 18th. The date you attend Burris Hall Auditorium depends on your specific on-campus move-in dates, but there are specific details outlined on the checklist if you are a Corps Cadet student or if you're a transfer student, and some other things there. The session is going to be from 9 to 10 o'clock in Burris Hall on those specific dates. You only need to attend one of those dates, depending on when you move in, like I said. We also do a really cool fun event called the College Social. That's on August 18th, and that's between 2 and 4 o'clock in Goodwin Hall and Lawn. We have specific arrival times also outlined on the engineer orientation checklist, just to make it sure it's not overcrowded for the arrival time. And so that's outlined there on that checklist as well. So that's all of the specific details that I have for you today. I do want to thank you all so much for being here. And what we'll do now is we'll open it up to any questions that you might have. What I will also reference is that if you have specific questions about like AP classes or specific things for your advisor, I would ask that you kind of contact your advisor specifically for those. But we are happy to address any specific questions related to topics we discussed today, or feel free to bring other topics forward. And if we don't know, we can get back with you on specific things that you're trying to ask for us. But thank you again for being with me today. If you have no other questions, you are free to leave this webinar whenever you like. But thank you all so much for being here. You'll use the Q&A feature too to address any questions. You can type those in, and what I'll do is I will address those questions live, or we will type in a response depending on how that's going. So the question is, are tutoring sessions free for students? Yes, tutoring is free. I mean, technically free, right? Free because you pay tuition. You pay tuition and fees, but we offer tutoring through a couple ways. And so I'm going to go back really quick to one of the slides that Dr. Thompson covered earlier in the session today, which is the slide specifically around resources and support. There is a tutoring and study skills link on our page that outlines tutoring, and we do tutoring through a couple ways. We do it through our Student Success Center, which is our main university tutoring office. Then there's also going to be additional graduate teaching assistant support for some courses in programs, and it's outlined for you there if it has that option. Closer to like the first couple weeks of classes, we will update anything for if it has like spring information, we will work with departments to get the fall information updated. There's math tutoring as well through the Student Success Center, but they also offer a lot of group tutoring sessions, and there's a lot of study review sessions specifically for chemistry, math, and physics. Physics has a great lineup of typically year to year. There are GTA office hours, which basically covers the span of the entire work week, and after hours as well. So tutoring is free. Can you explain about the undergrad student bundle and engineering bundle? I can just explain that we have it. I can't recall, and I'll have to share my screen to see if I can find the specific details about what's involved in those. But the undergrad bundle specifically is required for every single student at Virginia Tech, regardless of your major. And that undergraduate bundle is going to be your things like Microsoft and those specific things. Even if your computer came with that, like you bought a new computer recently, you still have to buy the undergraduate student bundle. And let me get to that really quick for you. And I'll type in the link so you can have that too. All right, let me make sure I do it for engineering. Computer requirement engineering. My page looks weird today, so I will do a type answer here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and send that to you. And then I'm not sure that was the right way to do it, but yes. So there is a link to the computer requirement page. I just popped into the answered Q&A section on the webinar. And for that computer requirement page, it also has information toward the bottom where it says minimum requirements. It has the university undergrad bundle and engineering software bundle. And on that link, it gives you specifically what's required in the university bundle. And that includes the Microsoft Office applications, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and so forth, Microsoft Windows operating system. It also has a few other little details that is beyond me. Then there is an engineering bundle. The engineering bundle specifically is software that's going to be required for your engineering classes. That's going to be products like MATLAB, PDF Annotator, SolidWorks, SASJMP Pro, CATME. There's also additional Microsoft development tools like Project, Visio, and Visual Studio. And so there's information there linked out on that page as well, so you can see that. So hopefully that's helpful. But both are required. All right, any other questions for me today? Yeah, awesome, thanks. And if you really want to know specific like specs, details on the computer, and you have questions about like, well, what do you think about this computer versus that computer? We can't recommend a computer, but our IT specialist can talk to you about, will that computer that you're interested in purchasing run the software? That's really why some of the minimum specifications are what they are, is because we want to make sure that that computer will run the engineering software, and it really needs high level processors and RAM speed. And so that definitely go back and reference that that live Q&A that we did for the computer requirement. It's fantastic. The person who led the session with me is Jeff Phillips. He's out of our dean's office as well, and answered a lot of really great technical questions. All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. What I'm going to do is I'll end our kind of live stream, but I'll hang out with you for just a few more minutes if you still have any other questions.